It is estimated that up to 40% of women over the age of 30 have uterine fibroids, many living in pain or with weight gain and sluggishness without ever really knowing why. But with early intervention and a doctor who is on target, you don't need to live with that. Joining me is Marta Staple. She is a Meriter nurse practitioner. Marta, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Some viewers, I'm sure, might not know, but I had uterine fibroids, and it got to the point where I just had no life anymore. I was always napping. My gut was out to here. I finally had a hysterectomy, an open hysterectomy, and it changed my life. Why is it that women, you would think educated women would know about this? Why is it that there are still women who don't understand what's going on in their own bodies?
Well, that's an interesting question because fibroids really of themselves are not a problem. It's a benign mass of muscle that arises from the body of the uterus. It just grows there. It in itself does not cause symptoms. It's the set of symptoms that tend to be vague and worsening over time slowly and become very bothersome that is the problem associated with fibroids. And many times it's fatigue, low back pain, bloating, heavy periods, anemia that presents as that fatigue that grow over time with the fibroids, and women are frequently grown accustomed to those symptoms.
I can tell you I did. For 5 years, I thought, well, this is just what it's like. I live in Wisconsin. I must have gained 30 pounds just because.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I'm in my upper 40s. This must be middle age.
Right.
But yet, we women still get pelvic exams, and they're missed by doctors. How does that happen, and how can we ensure that we don't arrive at a place where I did,
right,
where I just lost several years of my life to this?
Right. Well, I think that with fibroids, because they can grow in certain locations, in certain directions, in certain styles, they are often missed, particularly in the early stages. Most commonly, fibroids are less than 1 centimeter in diameter. It's really small. However, those small fibroids tend to not have symptoms, require no treatment, can just be watched, and will generally shrink over time. However, as they grow larger, I really encourage women that I talk to about this to have a low threshold for the symptoms associated with fibroid growth, to be the one to monitor for these types of symptoms. Is your period heavier? Is it causing you to be very tired and fatigued? Do you have chronic low back pain that doesn't seem to make any sense, doesn't get better with stretching and activity? You should talk to your healthcare provider about that. Ask for a very detailed pelvic exam. If they say a pelvic exam isn't warranted as part of our screening anymore, which research does support that claim, make sure that your symptoms are heard, because a pelvic exam is necessary for the diagnosis of fibroids. One
One thing that I noticed too, my belly popped. I mean, by the time I had a hysterectomy, I had the uterus of a 22-week pregnant woman. My belly was hard. I just thought that was fat, but it was hard. There's another way that you can also detect if this is going on for you. There are, different kinds of hysterectomies. That's a whole other interview. But Marta, thank you so much for coming in and addressing the issue that we don't have to live like this, and nobody should.
That's exactly right. Thank you for having me.
Coming up next on NBC 15 News.